webcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, welcome to our Career Coach Webinar, Strategies for Dealing with the Challenges Faced by Older Supply Chain Professionals. My name is Dana Day, and I'm the Manager of Member Relations here at APICS. Before we begin, I'd like to run through a few details. The presentation is being recorded and will be available at apics.org/careercoach. At the end of the presentation, we will have time for a quick question and answer session. If you look at the toolbar on your screen, you'll see a questions box. To ask your question at any time during the presentation, simply type it in the box and click send. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Rodney Apple. Rodney is the founder and president of SCM Talent Group, LLC, a national supply chain recruiting and executive search firm that recruits across the end-to-end supply chain discipline. Rodney has been working in professional recruiting for many years and has a wealth of knowledge and experiences that he generously shares as our own APICS Career Coach. Everybody, please give a warm welcome to Rodney Apple. Rodney, you may begin.
Thank you very much, Dana. And thanks for everyone that has attended today. We have a record number of sign-ups. I think we're close to 1,000. Typically, we'll have a few hundred. So it sounds like this is a pretty hot topic. It is one that's near and dear to me. I have witnessed pockets of well, let's just call it what it is, age discrimination, off and on throughout my career. Seen it with my father, laid off from a manufacturing plant 15 years ago. They laid a whole slew of people off that were older, been there many years, offered them a package. If you want to take this package, you need to sign a legal disclaimer that you can't sue us. Those things happen in the workforce, and it does create challenges for older workers. The good news is that right now supply chain is, I'd say there's not a better time to be in the field than today. And obviously the economy is doing very well. So when we have those two things going, that certainly is to your advantage. So with that said, today we're going to cover just a quick introduction. We'll talk about common myths when it comes to older workers, get into some tactics for how to optimize your resume, some networking tips. We're going to talk about how to execute a job search strategy, and then ways to market yourself. And then from there, just some additional resources that you can leverage to help with your job search and so forth. So as Dana said, I've been in supply chain recruiting for many years. I think I have a pretty unique perspective in that, I've been in it started in '98, so almost about 20 years. Spent half of that time on the corporate side, and then I'd say the other half has been on the agency or service provider side. Spent over 10 years leading the end-to-end supply chain recruitment for a handful of corporations. All of these have made the Gartner Top 25 supply chain list multiple times. Home Depot, I built their very first supply chain department back in 2002. Coca-Cola Company led all of their supply chain recruiting nationwide and supported the global supply chain teams. Kimberly-Clark on the CPG side, Cummins Industrial Automotive. So I've seen a lot when it comes to both on the inside of companies, very large, complex supply chains, both at the corporate level, regional level, as well as in the operations side of the house with factories and distribution centers. I personally filled over 1,000 different professional to executive supply chain positions. Our company, we've kind of surrounded ourselves by the core functional areas that you typically find within a supply chain. Logistics, transportation, distribution, sourcing, procurement, all the different phases of planning from demand through supply. We do a lot in the manufacturing space, quality, continuous improvement. We do both retained search contingency, contract staffing. We mainly work with shippers, so companies that do manufacturing, retail, or wholesale distribution. I know that covers a lot of industries, but what we find is that the supply chain can be a fairly transferable skill set across industries. So that's the space we play in. If we're not connected, I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. There's my LinkedIn handle right there. We're also very active on Twitter in terms of sharing advice, tips, and content as it relates to career development, as well as hiring practices within supply chain management. If this is your first time on a Career Coach webinar, we have been doing this for 5 years. I'm 5 years into this, and we've covered a plethora of topics on the professional development side. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but if you want to access any of these materials, you can download the white papers that we've developed and replay the webinars. You can simply go to apics.org/careercoach. You'll need to log in with your APICS credentials, and from there you'll see all of the white papers and links to replay past webinars. So wealth of information there. I would encourage you to check that out if you see any topics that you could use for your job search. Into year 2 as the APICS magazine author for professional development. So I'm sure you get those issues in the mail, and typically in there, we've covered a host of topics here. All of these are catered towards professional development, with a few on the hiring side as well. So we're going to get into the presentation. I'm going to start out with some common myths. We did a lot of research for this webinar, and there's a lot of bias out in the workforce these days. A lot of companies feel that training older workers is a lost investment. So we did some research, and AARP is one of the primary associations out there for older workers. So 75% of workers over 40, this is through one of their surveys, intend to keep working past traditional retirement age of 65. And so I have definitely seen this. I've seen folks work on up into their 70s. I think in supply chain operations folks, you get that into your blood, and I think it's hard to retire. I've seen people retire and come back. I see a lot of people that do retire, and then they'll come back and work on a project basis, consulting basis, and so forth. Another myth is that older workers are less productive than younger workers. And then through the research, they're finding, older workers have a very high level writing, math skills, and obviously have communicated a lifetime worth of experience, business maturity, EQ, and so forth. Productivity is not a function of age. Mature workers can produce high quality work, resulting in significant value, cost savings, and so forth. Another myth is that older workers aren't able to learn as quickly. And through superior study habits, accumulated experience, this can significantly lower the cost of training. Typically eager to learn new skills and keep pace with change. Obviously, we're seeing a rapid advancement when it comes to the technologies that are out there today within supply chain, and in order to keep pace, you pretty much have to learn that stuff. So, from my vantage point, I'm seeing people keep up with it. That's just typically not an issue at all. And then, just another side statistic is the fastest group of new internet users is over the age of 50. Another myth is that older workers are more expensive. The fact is that typically your turnover rates among older workers is actually lower, and then you'll find a higher turnover rate with younger employees. And we're definitely seeing that these days. Over my career, I've seen you typically see folks that stay with companies a longer period of time before making job moves, and nowadays it's common to see younger workers move around every 1, 2, or 3 years. A health insurance cost, it can be offset by empty nesters having fewer dependents. And on top of that, typically more flexible when it comes to compensation and benefits. Many have adequate retirement savings account. I can't tell you how many times folks have come to me and have told me, especially when they get to the latter part of their career, that they really just want to keep working and provide value and keep a foot in the keep in the game. And so so these are some of the common myths. Older workers are inflexible when it comes to taking less pay and responsibilities. And just like I stated, many value the quality of life and work, especially as they get into the latter stages of their career. Older workers are absent due to health issues. That's not true. You can count on older workers. They typically have a higher degree of punctuality, less likely to have to stay home because many of them are empty nesters. So those are some of the common myths. And I think, the reason I tell you this, you probably know this already, but the reason I tell you this is these are tidbits of information that you can use, especially when you get into an interview situation. So let's talk about, ways we can optimize a resume, and I think this is very important. I would say it's extremely important if you find yourself that you've sent out a lot of resumes and you're not getting, return calls, you're not getting a lot of interest level. Number one, the resume, and I think a lot of people I see make this mistake, and I do see older workers make this mistake as well. I've seen resumes that expand 3-4 pages. They're stacked with paragraphs, and what that does, it makes it just extremely difficult for someone to scan. People are very busy these days. Typically, folks are looking at a resume within a few seconds to make that initial determination. Is this someone that I should continue, reading the resume, or is this someone that doesn't have the right background? Typically scanning the types of jobs and companies you've worked for, the skills summary that should be at the top. They're making that initial yes, no, or maybe determination as they scan through applicants and candidates. So you want to make that resume stand out the best you can. It has to be very easy to scan and pass that initial test. Paragraphs are a resume's enemy. It forces folks to spend more time trying to read through, and if they don't have the time to read through it, they probably aren't going to put you in that yes bucket. Try to keep it 2 pages or less. Again, avoid those long stacks of paragraphs. You want to make sure you're leveraging white space, bolding, the different types of font sizes, bullet points, and so forth. That's how you make it stand out and make it easy to scan and read. As a more mature worker, you certainly don't want to detail every single job that you've had for every employer throughout your career. There's no need to do that. What you want to focus on is try to emphasize those past 10 to 15 years in terms of the level of detail. And then as you go back further into the earlier stage of your career, de-emphasize and maybe even provide a brief summary that covers, the first few jobs that you had out of school. You definitely want to stay present, as I mentioned earlier. It's very important to keep up with all the changes, advancements that are going on with trends, tools, systems, and so forth, especially the technology piece. And lastly, tailoring your resume based on the job, I think, is critical. I like to tell folks to think of having a master document where you've got your full resume, you've got rich detail, and for every job you've ever had, for every employer. And that's not what you're going to use, but it's a great way to keep that information in one document. And as you apply to different positions, especially if you've got 2 or 3 types of roles in mind, maybe you've worked in a warehousing environment, maybe you've worked in transportation, but you may want to have 2 or 3 types of resumes, depending on your background and areas of expertise. That way it'll be easy to fire off one. If it's for logistics, you can use your transportation resume that's highlighted with all the wonderful things you've done in the freight space, if you're applying to transportation jobs, and so forth. I think it's also important to have a skills summary up at the top. I see a lot of people that that make the mistake of, again, putting paragraphs, and it makes it very difficult or time-consuming to read through. So showcase the relevant experience, skills, and so forth. You can do that through bolding, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a minute. Objective statements have gone out of the door. We're seeing those replaced with a professional headline. I like to call it like a one-line branding statement or a power statement that you can put at the top that really captures the essence of your background and expertise, which should align with the type of roles that you're looking for as well. Professional summary, again, common keywords. I would put these into a bullet format. It's okay to have 2 or 3 columns if you need the space up top. You want to showcase your functional skills, technical, leadership, soft skills as well. From there, it's making sure that you're showcasing your most relevant and significant experience and accomplishments. See, a lot of people make the mistake of just describing their job duties. And I'll tell you what, when you put a resume in front of someone where all you talk about is what you do versus the value you delivered, it's not going to make that yes pile. So make sure you're focusing on integrating accomplishments as you describe your job duties and so forth, showcasing the value you've delivered, And the best way to do that is to quantify your accomplishments. How much money did you save? How did you improve the on-time delivery, and other metrics and KPIs? And you're going to want to de-emphasize any irrelevant experience. That doesn't mean take it off of your resume. It just means you may want to condense that particular experience, and that'll leave you more room to emphasize the experience that you have based on the types of jobs that you're applying to. And obviously, you're going to showcase your training, education, certifications, and so forth, APICS CSCP, CPIM, if you've got anything to do with Lean, Six Sigma, and so forth. One thing that I recommend too, and you don't want to, there is a lot of bias that goes on in hiring. I'm not painting a broad stroke here. I'm not saying and suggesting that every company does it, but absolutely it exists. And so one of the things you want to do is you don't want to give the appearance that you don't want to put, I've been working for 40 plus years of experience. So refrain from using any kind of dates that are going to elude and try to mitigate that bias that goes on in the workforce, because at the end of the day, that right there can be a showstopper for employers that are looking for for younger workers, or folks that are maybe at the kind of the middle stages of their career. You want to do the same thing for graduation dates, and I think that can help remove that bias, because if you get in front of someone, that's where you have the chance to shine. But if you put those dates on there and you've got some employers that are looking at, we're looking for somebody up and coming versus a mature worker, that's gonna cause issues. And you'll see at the bottom here, I've referenced related webinars. I'm certainly not going to have time to go through. I could spend hours talking about resumes. I'm just trying to provide some highlights I think are important, especially for mature workers. But if you want more information, I would encourage you to, on resumes, you can certainly look at our white paper and replay the webinar that we've done on how to optimize a resume, as well as a LinkedIn profile. So, funny story. I wrote an article for the APICS magazine. I think it was last year, and the editor reached out and said, "Hey, Rodney, why don't you send us your resume? We'd love an example." And I had not updated it in many years since I have my own company, and so I have a professional resume writer that I use, and I'm happy to refer this individual to anyone. If you just want to send me an email or send me a LinkedIn message, I'll be happy to introduce you to this guy. He is solid. His format, and this is an example of it, comes from Wharton Business School. This is what they use for their graduates coming out of that school, is they try to prepare them for re-entering the workforce and whatnot. I'm a huge fan of it. You can see that power statement is at the top, senior executive in talent acquisition. Got the skills summary right there, skills and competencies. This is important, especially when you're submitting your resume to, through the internet, job sites, job boards. A lot of those are parsing resumes by keywords, so you want to make sure you've got the most relevant, popular keyword that describes your background, skills, and competencies. You can see that he incorporates the use of bold. He's got some fantastic way he lays out the headings, and obviously trying to showcase some of the accomplishments that I've had, building that first supply chain department for Home Depot. And at the bottom, I've got my volunteer experience here with APICS and other associations that I belong to, and so forth. And if you would like a copy of this particular resume format, feel free again to send me an email or LinkedIn message, and I'll just send you my resume in Word. That way you can take it and use it and leverage it for however you want to help optimize your resume. But I think it's a great format. And again, I'm happy to introduce you to our resume writer if you like. So that covers some general resume advice, and now we're going to get into networking. I think as an older worker, it's very important to get out there, put yourself out there. Networking is really where the magic happens when it comes to your job search. Why? Well, referrals are typically the #1 source of hire for, I would say, the majority of employers out there. People, hiring managers are more likely to look at someone that's referred by an employee of the company. So if you can get out, the more people you know, the more people you're connected to, obviously the more odds of getting your resume referred into that company. The longer you work, the stronger your network. I mean, that seems to be common sense, right? So you want to definitely leverage your network to the max. It doesn't have to be people that you've worked with. It can be people you've met in different aspects of life, whether it's church or whether it's out on, working out at the gym. Look at every single person that you come in contact with, especially every professional. What could this person maybe do to help me, and how can I help them? And that's what networking is about. It's not what can they do for me, and then the moment you turn it into me, that's just not going to work. The moment you turn it into what can I do to help you, here are my key skills and my expertise. I see that you work in this field. I've worked in that field as well, and let me know if I can ever provide any advice. So it's just putting yourself out there. Networking can help elevate your personal brand and expertise. It helps with obviously facilitating those critical introductions and referrals. You can stay on top of industry trends and happenings, builds your self-esteem and your confidence level when you're out there associating with your peers and other professionals. And also it provides exposure to the hidden job market. Not all jobs are advertised. I've worked with plenty of companies that do not post anything at all. And a lot of times they'll come to recruiters like myself. We've got private equity companies we work with. They're not posting those jobs. Typically they're leveraging search firms for a majority of their hiring. And ultimately networking can help accelerate your job search. So I like to break networking down into two different areas. Obviously, you've got your online networking, and then you've got in-person networking. Critical not to make the mistake. I see a lot of folks out on LinkedIn. I've got 23,000 first-level connections. It's kind of a braggadocious way. Well, that number of connections doesn't really mean anything. It's all about the quality of your connections. Furthermore, the digital connections are meaningless. If you're not engaging that individual, how are you going to get any value out of having that connection? So you want to use these tools, these online tools, to identify the right people to connect with, and here's the key word, engage with. What kind of people, who do you want to connect with? Well, obviously, we're looking for hiring managers, hiring authorities. It could be the head of supply chain. It could be a department leader. If your background is more geared towards logistics, you definitely want to talk to somebody that heads up the logistics department. You've got your different types of sites. There's plenty of social media sites out there that you can network with. The supply chain associations, such as APICS, has a member channel. Most of the associations have that in place as well. And then once you identify the types of people you're going to network with, I would also suggest having a target list of companies. From there, you're going to want to put a strategy, put some pen to paper. You cannot go into this without a plan. Make sure you've got some goals and some activities that you're going to bake into your calendar, and some deadlines. That could involve like attending 2 or 3 different association events per month, reaching out to 50 new connections per week. Put a plan together and then mix it up. Figure out what's working. Are people responding to certain messages that you're sending them? You've got to track the results to figure out what's working best. When you do send new introductions, don't just hit the button connect. Make sure you're trying to personalize those. I think LinkedIn's done a good job finally in recent years of showing those messages as they come through, and you can find those in kind of the message section from your connections, and you can see that not only have you gotten a invitation to connect, you can actually see what that person, if they left a message, and what they were writing about. I think it's always critical to customize those. Keep it to 5 sentences or less. You just really want to answer the basic questions. Why am I connecting with you? How can I potentially, again, network is all about giving. How could I potentially help this individual? You may want to suggest something. Here's what I do. I'd be happy to help you out. Show some passion around your profession. What kind of problems do you like to solve? And then, obviously, what are you looking to do next? As it comes to skills, your career, and so forth. Obviously, if you're looking for a position, you'll want to reference that. If you applied to a position, you'll want to reference that position and let them know that you're trying to follow up with someone and showcase how you align, your background aligns with what that role is. Always have a call to action. Hey, I'd love to connect with you. Your company is at the top of my target list, and I'm trying to do all that I can do to get my foot in the door. Is there anything you could do to help me out? Are you the right person to speak with, or should I try to connect with someone else there? Question mark. And when it comes to LinkedIn, and I do feel that is the number one place you want to focus your time, obviously, since it caters to business professionals. Clearly you want to, I look at LinkedIn and there's two ways here. You look at, just like marketing, there's inbound marketing and there's outbound marketing. So the inbound side of that, if you think of if you go out there and not Google, but search on LinkedIn, search for like an exact clone of yourself. Look for somebody, if you're a transportation manager, let's say you're LTL specialist, look for somebody that has that background, it's just like you. Pull up their profile. What do you see? Why are they ranking at the top of that search? I'm not suggesting that you want to go out and copy paste that information into your profile, but you can absolutely take a look at how they've structured their profile. That's how you attract people to you. That's the inbound marketing aspect of LinkedIn. So you want to make sure you're integrating the most popular keywords that describe your background throughout every section of that LinkedIn profile. I know if you go put in the term like supply chain recruiter or executive supply chain recruiter, I'm hoping I come up somewhere towards the top. If you do that out on Google, same thing, you're probably going to pull up my website. So just think like a marketer when you put that profile together. I see a lot of people make the mistake of not completing their profile, not adding a summary, not putting the right keywords in. And guess what? If you don't have the right keywords in the right places, you're not going to show up in a search when a recruiter or HR person is looking for someone like you on LinkedIn. So that's the inbound side. Make sure you fully complete it, optimize it to the best of your ability. And then you want to be active. Just putting out a profile, sitting back, and waiting for things to happen, that's not going to cut it. Sure, you might get contacted about some positions, and that's wonderful, but you want to leverage that tool to, again, identify the right people, to get your name out there, too. Sharing content, commenting on connections, post by your connections, offering up advice. If you've written maybe you've written a white paper or something, an article that you contributed to, share other people's content. That's how you can get yourself noticed. In addition to people finding you by searching through keywords, you can publish on the LinkedIn publishing platform called LinkedIn Pulse. You can participate in discussions in the LinkedIn groups. There are a plethora of groups with sometimes hundreds of thousands of members. Obviously, APICS has a LinkedIn group as well. It's a great way to engage in conversation and show off your expertise. Again, you want to personalize every one of these connection requests and make sure you understand what I call the Kevin Bacon degrees of separation. If you haven't heard that term, you can Google it. But basically, the way LinkedIn works, everything is by your degree, your number of connections and who your connections are connected to. That's your network on LinkedIn. So again, quality is more important than quantity, but you definitely want to focus in both areas. And again, not just build out those digital connections. Every single connection you have, you should be sending out a message to engage with. Here's who I am. Here's what I do. Here's what I'm looking for. Just go over that basic criteria. How can I help you? And leave some kind of call to action. And obviously, you want to use that tool to connect with the right people that are within the target companies that you're trying to get yourself into. In-person networking, would definitely focus as much of your time doing this, especially if you're out of work. There's really no excuse why you shouldn't be able to get to some of these local chapter events. Obviously, APICS has chapters in most major cities. But here's some things that you want to do. I like to break it down into before you go into a networking event, things to do during the event, and then what happens, what should you do after in terms of follow-up. So before, again, pen to paper. What do I want to get out of this? Put some objectives in place. You want to determine the events that you want to go to, and I'll, obviously you've got the supply chain associations, but there's plenty of other networking events that you can attend. I'll get into some of those in a bit. Again, identifying the people that you want to connect with, the type of people, maybe putting a list together. LinkedIn makes it very easy. APICS, again, has the member channel that you can go in and search, who are members. You can obviously look up who's on the board at the chapter in terms of people you might want to connect with there and see if they can help introduce you to the right people, et cetera. Maybe before the event, if you see someone that's going to be speaking that is going to be there, it can't hurt to reach out. Hey, I see you're a member of the Atlanta APICS chapter. I'm going to be heading to the event. I definitely want to make it a point to connect with you. So make sure you've got the goals, action steps, and all those good things in place so you've got a plan and you can execute it. During the event, dress to impress. I think it's always important to do that. Give off your best impression. If you do go to events with colleagues, don't just hang out with them. And the goal there is to meet new people. So a lot of people make the mistake. They'll bring along their buddies from work, and they'll sit there and stand in the same circle, and then they'll leave. Well, what is the benefit of that? Greet each person, firm handshake, eye contact, and a smile. That's a given. Arrive early, potentially assist with helping others as they arrive, understanding the layout of the facility, especially if you're at a big conference, like the one that APICS put on recently in Chicago. Be sure to ask questions. I think it's important to maybe understand some icebreakers, basic questions. Again, if you want to go to the apics.org/career coach, we've got a white paper. Actually, we've done 2 webinars on networking, so there's plenty of good information there. Always ask how you can be helping someone with achieving their goals. Be curious. Make sure you get a business card, and then after that, you're going to go back and write down your thoughts and start putting together your follow-ups. Follow up always within 1 to 2 business days of meeting a new connection. Send out that personalized LinkedIn request. From there, you can use tools like Outlook. HubSpot offers a pretty cheap solution in terms of a CRM or customer relationship management tool. Whatever tool you use to stay organized, you can do this in Excel. You want to make sure that you're following up and with people that you meet. You don't want to stalk them, obviously, but maybe routinely reach out. That's how you keep people engaged. That's how you build relationships. Make sure you're trying to lead to something, especially if it's a high-value prospect at a target employer. Clearly, you're going to want to focus on those A-level contacts, trying to get them out for, a meeting. It could be coffee, lunch, after work, adult beverage, what have you. But also make sure that you're not just following up, asking again, what can you do for me? Hey, I'm looking for a job. Have you heard of anything yet? Make sure you're trying to share content, high valuable content, advice, articles that you think would be beneficial. Job search strategy. Again, we've done a couple of different webinars in recent years, so there's plenty of information there, but I want to cover my perspective when it comes to older workers and how they should arrange, their job search. So again, there are employees out there that are wide open when it comes. They want to make themselves visible to older workers. AARP has an employer pledge page. Feel free to send me an email. I know some of these links might be hard to copy down, but I'll be happy to share the presentation so you have access to these links. There's 700 plus companies that are committed to leveraging workers of all ages, as it should be with every company. But here is a list of companies that have pledged to consider workers of all ages. I think consulting companies is a great place where, especially, you obviously got your big 4, they have supply chain operations practices, plenty of other niche consulting companies out there that are looking for full-time experts, and I think that's a great place to look. Again, we do a lot of work with private equity companies. I mean, everyone I've worked with have never had an issue. They look for the right person. They don't care about the the age, the attributes. That's been at least my personal experience. So, and they're typically flipping those companies every 5 years, and that can be a great place, especially the latter stage of your career. They are looking for deep expertise in different areas, and that might be a great place to look, especially within the portfolio companies that have supply chain and operations. Operation Able. This is another website that tries to provide different types of training and employment services for older workers. I've been predicting this for years. Baby boomers retiring. We've got a massive talent shortage in supply chain in a lot of different areas, and I've been seeing an uptick in the need for project-based work. And I do feel that we do see a lot of folks in the baby boomers that are retiring. Maybe they have a hard time landing that full-time job again, but I've seen many people that are having success with working on contract-based work projects. Temp agencies. Think of it as just getting your foot in the door. You're going to earn some income. It may not be quite what you're looking for, especially if you go through a temp agency. But that's a great avenue for at least getting yourself out there, and then you can, once you get the foot in the door with a project, obviously your mission is to not just deliver what they need with the project. You want to exceed, show the value, put in every bit of ounce of effort that you can, and that's what gets noticed, and then they could potentially look at you for full-time work down the road. I've seen it happen many times. We've got a list here, the gig economy. It seems to be getting bigger and bigger, where people work on small projects and freelance type projects. So there's a list of apps that are out there and websites that you can tap into. Some are not going to be relevant to supply chain. Some are. A lot of them are more generalist. So I would encourage you to check out that list and download any of those apps. It might give you some good leads to pursue when it comes to contract work. We created, as part of the job search strategy, we created I think it's so important to track your activity. You want to measure what's working, right? Just like in a supply chain position, you've got your KPIs, you're constantly looking at them and trying to improve them and using that data to figure out what's working, what's not, and putting in a corrective action and whatnot. Think of your job search as the same way. You can't take it haphazardly. You've got to have a plan and you've got to track. And I'd say to laser focus, put a list of target companies together. You may want to look back on that AARP list. I think you can also look out on LinkedIn and just peruse some of the profiles of people that are doing the type of work that you want to do. Pay attention. I mean, are these people that have been there? Are they older workers? Obviously, you've got their pictures in there. You can sometimes tell. Have they been there for an established period of time? I mean, that doing some research like that is very time consuming, but at least it can give you some ideas of employers that seem to be more open-minded to hiring older, mature workers. But definitely have a target list of companies that you're going to laser in on, have an action plan of how you're going to penetrate those companies, the types of contacts that you're going to want to reach out to and engage. If you apply to jobs online, a quick side note on that, if you're sitting back and applying to a position online and you're not doing anything else, you're gonna get frustrated. You probably are frustrated if that's all you've done. I'm gonna talk in a minute about how you can go through the back door. Track your interviews, any offers that you receive. It's just a great way to stay organized. There's a link to that template. You can take it and make it. I'm not the greatest Excel wizard, but you can kind of take that template and make it your own. Most important lesson here is just to track it so you can stay laser focused. Speaking of applying online to positions, and I know it's an extremely, it's a major source of frustration, right? I think LinkedIn has a fantastic tool. I call it going through the back door, and this is where I've seen candidates have tremendous success. So once you apply to that position, what do you do next? So open up the LinkedIn Advanced Search. You might even want to pay for they've got a job seeker package, and it gives you in-mails, it gives you more filtering ability, makes it a lot easier for you to identify those hiring managers. Again, who are the types of people I want to connect with at that company that I just applied to? Well, I'm a firm believer in the higher you go in, the better. Oftentimes you go in at an executive level, senior executive level, a chief supply chain officer. They're typically going to have an admin. They're going to see that application or that follow-through resume come through that you're trying to send that person. And I've often, in my days in corporate, the corporations I work for, those resumes always came to the hiring manager with a copy to me, or at least me, and then from there I would at least take a look at it. I would actually have to respond back to that executive. Yes, I reached out to this person. Here's the results of the conversation. So go in at the top. Try to identify who that actual hiring manager might be. If you can't get a hold of the head of supply chain or head of manufacturing, who's that supply chain corporate recruiter? Who's that you can put in the word recruiter, talent acquisition into the search, put in some keywords like supply chain or manufacturing or whatever it is you do, and then try to identify the recruiter that's aligned to that function. There's also HR partners that are going to be dedicated to supply chain, and that's the group of people. Don't just think of I need to reach the hiring manager. There's a whole slew of people at these companies that you can reach out to. The goal is just to connect with one person that can help you out and help you get that foot in the door. Researching, staying on top of their company news, especially with your target companies. It's a great way to break the ice. Hey, I just saw you guys are opening up another fulfillment center here in my backyard. I've got a background in running distribution centers, and I'd love to speak with you about this opportunity and help you guys out with opening up this new facility. So stay on top of the news. Once you connect with someone on LinkedIn, you can go into their profile and pull up their email address. Every single profile on LinkedIn has an email address. It may be their work, it may be their personal, it really doesn't matter. If you're unable to connect with someone on LinkedIn, there are some tools I've listed. FindAnyEmail.net, Rapportive, Ninja Outreach is a Chrome extension. These are great. There's plenty of tools out there that can help you figure out someone's email address. That way, if you can't get through on LinkedIn, you can obviously try to get their email address and connect with them there. From there, you're going to connect and send out a personalized message. This is where you can attach your resume, and to mitigate them telling you, well, you need to apply online, tell them, I've already applied online, and I just wanted to follow through. I know sometimes applications get lost in the shuffle, and make sure that you're able to, in a succinct way, communicate how well you apply to that position. You could be looking at the job description, try to identify what those key objectives look like, what is the essence of the role, what do they really want this person to focus in on, and then make sure in your, whether it's a cover letter or it's in the body of an email, and again, keep it short, but try to reference how you apply to those top qualifications and objectives for that position. Following up on the phone, I know that can be a bit intimidating, but this here is really what separates, I would say, I tell people to do this, have a focus relentlessly, but don't be a stalker. But you don't want to give it a one and done approach. I sent them an email, followed up with a voicemail, never heard back. You've got to do more than that these days. People are so busy, especially in operations, supply chain. Again, don't stalk, but sending someone a follow-up email, hitting them through LinkedIn, then going around and leaving a voice message, that right there is very powerful. That's how you get their attention. So don't give up. Just don't call them 50 times a day, blowing up their phone, and then you're definitely not going to get invited in for an interview. So keep all your communication short and simple. Again, we're not writing books here. We're not describing everything we've done to every employer. 5 sentences or less on that initial communication. The goal there is really just try to engage that individual. And again, always leave a call to action. There's another reference at the bottom here about job search strategies. Just a reminder, we've got a lot more detail on this topic if you want to download the white paper we've done on this topic here. If you haven't interviewed in a while, you've been out of work for a while, you definitely want to maintain your chops. So I think, had someone reach out the other day looking for advice on interviewing, and I said, it's so important to prepare, and it's so important to practice. Role play with colleagues, people in your network, go over your typical interview questions, and so forth. If you do hear, and I do see this a lot, and this person's overqualified. Yeah, I absolutely have a lot of experience, and that can be to your advantage. The reason I want this position, be able to communicate those quick handle those common objectives that you're going to be faced with, and as an older worker, always have a quick response and rehearse that. Again, know what you're going to say. Rehearse in front of a mirror if you don't want to do it with a friend or colleague. You want to know their company, know their history, know their values, their products, services, their financials. Try to get a good understanding of maybe their supply chain footprint. Some companies, they put that information on their website, others don't. But try to get as much information out of them as possible when you're in an interview situation, obviously. And then I think critical point here is understanding those key deliverables. Every time I kick off a search assignment, my number one question is understanding the top 3 to 5 objectives that you want this individual to tackle in the first year. That right there tells me a lot. It tells me more than what's on the list of skills and qualifications, because I'm going to try to find somebody that's done that in the past. And likewise, when you're interviewing, you want to understand those key objectives, and then you want to be able to confidently communicate what you've done with similar objectives, and that comes down to your accomplishments and being able to quantify them. Ultimately, you're conveying the type of value you communicated. So practice interviewing while you're out of work. That'll make you better prepared when you do get into an interview situation. Some quick do's and don'ts, and then we're going to wrap up with a Q&A. So I think it's very important to market yourself. Again, posting the jobs is going to lead to frustration, so you've always got to put yourself out there. Believe in yourself. I've got a friend, a guy that I recruited to Home Depot many years ago, and opened up some of their large distribution centers and had to deal with some family issues, was out of work for a while and has an employment gap now, and he's been down in the dumps. And I've been trying to tell him, like, hey, you got to stay positive. You've got an awesome set of skills, and you just can't give up. You got to put yourself out there. Again, supply chain is on fire right now from a job perspective. May not seem that way sometimes if you're out of work and you're dealing with frustrations, but you got to believe in yourself. Don't worry about past failures. Stay focused on the now. Put yourself out there online. This is a fantastic way to get noticed by connections, especially if you're connecting to people on LinkedIn at your target companies. When you share content, that increases the odds of your people in your target company seeing that content, and it's a great way to get identified. Again, stay up to date with trends going on in supply chain. I think it's important to do everything you can on the side, whether it be volunteering, serving as a mentor. Obviously, APICS has a mentor center, makes it super easy to go out and match yourself up with a mentee. And also, staying in touch with past employers, employees, colleagues, and honestly, if you've worked in one industry for a while, you've picked up some pretty awesome experience. Go to all of their competitors. If you work in the beverage centers, let's say you worked at Coke, that's where I spent 6.5 years. Go to their direct competitors. Hey, I worked in the beverage industry. There's a magazine called BevNet. They typically will list all these hundreds of different smaller beverage companies. That's a good place where you can take your industry experience and add value to another company in the same space. What you don't want to do, again, is just apply to jobs, sit back, and wait. You must actively market yourself all the time. Don't be afraid to, I told you to keep your experience, in the last 10, 15 years, but if you've got something that's relevant, something that you're proud of, don't be afraid to pull up something from back 25 years ago, especially if it was something relevant and significant to the type of position that you're interviewing for. You definitely don't want to neglect your network. Again, engage your network, stay in contact periodically, especially with people in your target companies that you're trying to get into. Again, referrals are the number one source of hires. Don't accept a position out of desperation. That's just going to lead to more frustration. Make sure that you understand when you go in to your evaluating opportunities, you've got to have a list of, I have to have these things to be happy, whether it's compensation, whether it's benefits, the type of work you're doing, obviously. And then here are some nice things to have, but don't hold out for that perfect job. You want to make sure that you are at least finding something where you enjoy the people you're working with. It's a company that's not going down the tubes, obviously, and you're going to be excited about the kind of work. And the compensation is enough to keep, to keep you where you can maintain your lifestyle. And then never give up. Again, supply chain is hot. The economy is very strong. here's some additional resources. Again, feel free to send me an email or LinkedIn message. I will be happy to share the presentation because I know it's difficult to sometimes write down all of these links. But here are the two leading associations for older workers. They help out with everything from benefits, training, things like that. We found an awesome resource here, livecareer.com, that had some good resources for mature job seekers. And don't just think you have to go out and go directly to industry-related associations and events. There's plenty of other events where you can get out and meet professionals. Again, all it takes is meeting someone that's at a company that you'd like to work at. It could be in finance. It could be the janitor. They could be in marketing. It really doesn't matter. If they can help you get a foot in the door, that's all that you need to worry about. U.S. Chamber has chapters all over the place. Business Networking International is another similar group. If you go to bizjournals.com, they're going to have a calendar. It's going to be full of events as well in the local areas. Meetup.com, Eventbrite. If you've got some hobbies, they've got lists of I'm into landscape photography, and Meetup has a place where you can get out and meet people that are in the same thing. It's another great way to meet people and stay active. And then also LinkedIn groups. I live here in Asheville, North Carolina, and we've got a professional business networking group for folks that live here. And I would say there's probably something similar in every city. So make sure you're leveraging all of the types of networking events. Doesn't have to be related to your field or supply chain. And now we're ready for Q&A. Dana, do we have any questions?
We do, Rodney. We have some really inquisitive listeners today. Real quick, before we dive in, I do want to remind you that this recording will be posted on the APICS website in our Career Coach section. That should be up by the end of the week. And some member benefits that are very relevant to today's session are job postings. They're available 4 days before non-members. The APICS logo will be by your resume, so recruiters can see that you are a dedicated supply chain professional. Rodney did mention our Mentor Center that's in our supply chain channel. You could also be a mentee, learn from other people in the industry. Mentee is not just for those new to supply chain and their career. And we also have our supply chain compensation and career survey report and salary calculator. This could be very relevant to you at this time as well. So to dive into some questions, Rodney, you mentioned business cards. Hasn't everyone gone digital? Do you still see the relevance of having a physical business card?
I do. I think folks that are tech savvy, I had someone come up to me at your APICS conference in Chicago with trying to scan my phone. They said, "Hey, pull up your LinkedIn." I have the LinkedIn app on my phone, and I to my surprise, I was surprised I didn't know about this, but we were able to tap our phones together and connected right there on the spot. So yeah, that's a great way to do it. Right now, it hasn't really gained in popularity, I don't think, but I think that is the wave of the future. But you never want to be empty-handed when someone, especially if they're like a hiring person, you don't want to be caught empty-handed. So I would absolutely recommend, even if you're unemployed, to have a business card. I went to at the conference. There were several folks that were out of work. You could, they said, "Hey, here's my business card. I'm not working right now, but this is my contact information." So I think that's critical these days. And Vistaprint, Vistaprint.com, that's one of the cheapest places where you can go in and design a card. They've got a ton of templates, and it's like $20 for 500 cards. So very cheap to get your hands on a card. But that's a great point. I think that is the wave of the future. We're just probably not quite there yet.
Great. And how would you go about tweaking or leveraging some of the tips we learned today to you're invested in your current job? How can you make your value be shown there as an older employee?
That's a great question. Real quick, we have done some webinars on how to advance and accelerate your career within supply chain. So I would say, we've 15, 20-page white paper we've done on that topic, as well as a webinar. So go back and check that out, because I won't be able to answer this. There's a lot of things you can do. But I think serving as a mentor is paramount. Hopefully you're doing that, and you're a full-time mentor at your current employer. I still believe all of the things that apply whether you're a younger worker or older worker. You still have to deliver the value. You still have to show initiative. You still have to volunteer. Hey, we've got a project. Does anybody want to help out? We've got a problem. There's a fire. We need continue to be that leader, and that's what demonstrates the leadership. And then having a good internal network. I know in larger corporations, it's easy to get stuck into your silos or stuck in your facilities, but being proactive, building. You want to stay in this company. Let's say maybe you've been pigeonholed into the same operation or the same department. The best way, obviously you can apply internally positions, but if you really want to try to, building your internal network, I think is critical. In addition to the things I've already said, with continuing to deliver value every day. But you got to make people aware of who you are, and you got to communicate what your goals are, especially as you're winding down your career. Your HR people should know exactly what you want to do as you're getting into the 55, 60 range, and stay proactive. That's how you can also try to mitigate when they do come around and restructure. You put it out there that you're flexible. You can move into different areas of the business, and then you've got some confidants internally that believe in you and know who you are. So make it a point to continue every day, especially in these giant companies or even mid-sized companies, to make people aware of who you are.
Great. Thanks, Rodney. How about dressing to impress for your interview? Has that changed at all in our modern culture?
It has. I would say people, companies, I don't think you see, back in the day, you'd have more, traditional, conservative, I'm trying to think of the right word, attire, business suits. You definitely don't see that. I think over the years, with newer generations coming up, we're seeing a more relaxed atmosphere. But I tell you what, I'm going to always stand by dressing to impress. Now, obviously, if you're going into an interview that's at a manufacturing plant or distribution center, the best thing to do is to ask the recruiter or the HR person, or your main point of contact, hey, what is the appropriate attire? I typically wear a suit and tie. They're going to tell you, no, don't do that. You'll stick out. You need steel-toe boots. So it's just figure out, if you can, what the appropriate attire is, but always err on the side, especially if you don't know or you can't find out, to dress to impress. And that could either be a suit and tie or a blazer, whatnot.
Great. We have time for one last question. This listener recently retired over the summer due to his plant closing. When you're applying, how do you reflect this on a job application because you don't have the current position anymore?
So the person retired, you said?
Yeah.
Or was it more of a situation where the plant shut down, they were out of work all of a sudden with the rest of the workforce?
That's what it sounds like, yes. It was an early retirement due to plant closing.
I'm a huge fan of transparency when it comes to those types of situations. And I firmly believe in even putting that on the resume, with your current position, in a parentheses beside of your title or beside of the company, factory shut down on this date, and making sure it's in bold. It's it's going to be obviously at the top of your resume with that most recent position, of course. And then from there, when you are applying to positions, whether you're reaching out to someone on LinkedIn, I think that's a great way to open up the conversation. Is, hey, our plant just shut down. I've been there for X amount of years, and obviously I'm going to be looking for my next opportunity. And then from there, you go right on in to hear the value, the experiences I have, my expertise, and the value that I contributed. I'd love to do the same for your manufacturing facility. So transparency is always the rule of thumb when it comes to those unfortunate situations. Those things do happen, but make the employer, make the contact you're reaching out to aware, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's in an email, whether it's in a phone conversation. Get that out of the way. We don't want people to make assumptions. They got laid off, or they're just again, that bias in the workforce. We're trying to mitigate that, and we do that through transparency.
Thank you, Rodney. And that's all the time we have today. I do want to remind listeners that we do have all of our career coach webinars archived, so you can go back and learn more about resume tips, networking tips, and such. So we'd like to thank our speaker, Rodney Apple, for his time today, and to all of our attendees for participating. We hope that you found this webinar to be beneficial. Please keep an eye out for future webinars on the online events page of the APICS website. This concludes today's webinar. Have a nice day.